At the beginning of the movie, we see some prisoners working. Among them, every 3 prisoners are chained together. 3 of these prisoners are Everett, Pete, and Delmar. They decide to escape from the prison. They manage to run away, but since they are chained together, they cannot go far from each other. Their main reason for escaping is to find a hidden treasure they have heard about. While escaping, they see a railway track, and just then a train arrives. They start running to catch the train. Everett climbs onto the train first, where some passengers are sitting. He asks, "Can anyone here cut our chains?" But he forgets that his 2 friends are still on the ground and haven't managed to climb up. Since they are all chained together, Everett also gets pulled down from the train. After that, they start blaming each other for the mistake. Just then, they notice a trolley coming on the railway tracks, driven by an old man. Even though they are wearing prisoner clothes, the old man doesn't recognize them because he is blind. They hop onto the trolley. The blind man tells them, "You are on the right path. Very soon you will find something you never imagined. But the journey won't be easy. There will be many challenges. If you don't give up, you will surely succeed." After hearing this, they believe they are close to finding the treasure and think that the blind man's words are a sign from God. However, before doing anything else, they need to break their chains and separate from each other, so they visit Pete's relative, who helps them by cutting the chains. That night, he also gives them food, but while they are sleeping, they hear noises outside. They realize that the police have arrived. Pete's relative betrayed them and informed the police in exchange for a reward. The 3 of them are in deep sleep, but the police set it on fire to force them out. Just in time, Pete's relative's son arrives with a car and helps them escape. The police think that they have burned to death in the fire. After traveling some distance, their car breaks down. Pete tells the boy to return home while they go to find a replacement part for the car. However, the shopkeeper tells them that the part will take 4 weeks to arrive, which is too long. They recently learned that a dam will be built at the place where the treasure is hidden in just 4 days. This means they must reach there before the dam construction begins. Everett then says, "I stole a gold watch from your relative's house. We can sell it and buy a new car," he adds. But Pete is not happy about it and says, "That is not the right thing to do." He doesn't like Everett's decision. Just then, they notice many people dressed in white clothes walking past them. They don't know who these people are, so they follow them out of curiosity. Soon they reach a lake where they see people going into the water one by one. This lake is very sacred to them. Pete also goes into the lake, but Everett does not because he doesn't want to ruin his hairstyle. He loves his hair a lot. Later, they sell the gold watch and buy a car to continue their journey. On the way, they meet a young man who asks for a ride. They give him a lift. He introduces himself as Tommy and says he is going to a club in Boston where performers can win $10 for a good performance. Tommy is actually a musician. Hearing this, they decide to go to the club with him. When they reach the club, they meet the club owner, who tells them, "You have to sing old vintage songs. If you earn anything, you'll get $10. Then the 3 of them perform together. Their song becomes a huge hit and they win $10. That night, while sitting outside a cottage discussing their next plan, the police suddenly arrive. The 3 of them quickly hide. The police had already figured out that they were still alive and staying in this cottage. So the police set the cottage on fire and leave. Luckily, the 3 were outside at that time, so they survived. But their car, which was inside the cottage, burned down. Now, they had no choice but to walk. While walking, they suddenly see a car passing by with money flying out of it. The man inside the car notices them and stops, as he already knows them. He is also a criminal. He offers them a ride, and they all get into his car. Once inside, the man tells Everett, "Take the steering wheel." But when Everett reaches for the steering wheel, the man jumps out of the car and starts shooting at the police car, making its tires burst. After that, the 4 of them enter a bank and rob it. That night, when they are sitting together, the criminal man says, "I'm tired of this job. I can never stick to one thing for too long, so I'm quitting this life." After saying this, he leaves. Meanwhile, the club owner, where they performed earlier, sees that customers are demanding to watch their performance again. Since their performance became very popular, the audience wants to see them perform once more. The club owner tells his worker, "Find them quickly before another club signs them first." Later, Everett, Pete, and Delmar reunite. Now they have some money. They go to a shop where Everett buys hair gel to style his hair, but at the same time, they steal a car parked outside and escape. While driving through the forest, they suddenly hear women singing. Curious, they follow the sound and reach a riverbank where 3 women are washing clothes while singing. The women smile at them and offer them whiskey. After drinking the whiskey, they all fall asleep. The next morning when Delmar wakes up, he sees Pete's clothes lying on the ground, but Pete is missing. Just then, a frog jumps out of Pete's clothes. Delmar gets scared and screams, "Those 3 women used magic and turned Pete into a frog." Everett also wakes up. Delmar tells him everything, but Everett doesn't believe him. However, Delmar is sure that Pete has turned into a frog, so he grabs the frog and tells Everett, "Let's find a magician who can turn Pete back into a human." On the way, they get hungry and stop at a restaurant. A fat man approaches them and says, "You have a car and I'm a car expert. I can give you some tips to fix it, but in return, you have to buy me a good meal." They buy food and go to a field, but after eating, the man suddenly attacks them, beats them up, steals their car and money, and runs away. Now injured and with no transport, Everett and Delmar start traveling in a wagon filled with hay. While on the road, they see a group of prisoners working by the roadside. Among them is Pete. Everett is shocked and asks Delmar, "Does Pete have a twin brother?" Delmar replies, "I don't know." They continue their journey and reach Everett's hometown. There, he meets his daughter, who tells him, "Mom is getting married again. She has chosen someone new." Everett finds his wife and asks her, "Why did you tell everyone that I was dead? I'm still alive." His wife replies, "What else could I do? I didn't want our children to know that their father was a criminal in prison." Just then, her new fiance arrives and beats up Everett. After that, Everett is thrown out and he returns to his friends. Now Everett has no choice but to leave town. However, he is determined to get his wife back. Feeling heartbroken, he decides to watch a movie with Delmar to distract himself. In the movie theater, some prisoners are brought in to watch the film. Among them is Pete. Everett is shocked and says, "You're really alive? So those women didn't turn you into a frog?" Pete, annoyed, replies, "What nonsense are you talking about? The police caught me." Everett and Delmar help Pete escape from the police, and they all run away together. After escaping, Pete confesses, "I'm sorry, but we can't get the treasure anymore. The police tortured me and forced me to tell them our whole plan." Everett then admits the truth. "Actually, there was never any treasure. I lied to you. I just wanted to return to my wife and family. If I hadn't told you about a treasure, you wouldn't have agreed to escape with me since we were chained together. I had no choice but to lie." Hearing this, Delmar feels heartbroken and says, "If I had stayed in prison just 2 more weeks, my sentence would have been over. But now, because I escaped, I might have to spend my whole life in jail. What you did was really wrong." As they argue, suddenly a strange noise comes from the forest. They follow the sound and see many people dressed in white robes. Among them is Tommy, the musician they had met earlier. They realize that this is a cult that worships the devil, and tonight they are planning to sacrifice Tommy. They quickly rescue Tommy, but among the cult members is the fat man who had stolen their car and money. He starts chasing them, but Everett, Pete, Delmar, and Tommy manage to escape. Afterward, Everett tells his friends, "My wife told me that tonight she is going to a fancy dinner party. Important politicians will be there. I will go there and try to convince her to come back to me." So they all disguise themselves and enter the party. They even get a chance to perform on stage. They sing the same song they had performed at the club, which had already become very popular. During the performance, Everett tries to convince his wife to come back to him, but she refuses. At that moment, the man running in the election, who was actually a member of the cult they had escaped from, recognizes them. He grabs the microphone and announces to everyone that they are prisoners and should be arrested, but nobody believes him. Frustrated and angry, he starts talking about his cult's strange beliefs. Hearing this, the audience is shocked. They soon realize that he is crazy and dangerous, so they beat him up and throw him out of the party. Meanwhile, Everett, Pete, and Delmar continue their performance, and everyone enjoys it. The governor, who was running against the cult member in the election, had already won. He is impressed by their talent and says, "These men are truly talented. I believe they deserve a second chance. I am officially canceling all their prison sentences." This news makes Everett, Pete, and Delmar extremely happy. Everett's wife also forgives him and says that she wants to be with him again. But Everett notices something. She is not wearing the engagement ring he had given her. Instead, she is wearing the ring from her new fiancé. His wife tells him, "I left your ring at your father's house. If you really want to marry me again, you have to bring it back." Everett replies, "Okay, give me some time." So he and his 2 friends head toward his father's house. In reality, the place he had told them was the location of the hidden treasure was actually his father's house all along. When they arrive, they see that the police and the warden are already waiting for them. Pete had told the police about this place, believing there was a real treasure buried there. The warden had already dug 3 graves for them. He says, "No one can save you now. I am sentencing you to death." They tell him about the governor's pardon, but the warden refuses to believe them. Just then, Everett prays to God, and suddenly a huge flood comes. The entire area is covered in water, and they manage to escape by holding onto a floating desk. Ironically, this desk was inside Everett's father's house. And as fate would have it, inside the desk, Everett finds his old engagement ring. Excited, he rushes back to give the ring to his wife, but when she sees it, she says, "This is not the ring you gave me. This is your aunt's ring. I can't accept this. If you truly want to marry me, you have to find my real ring." Saying this, she walks away. Everett realizes that his journey is not over yet. If he truly wants his wife back, he must find the real ring, and with this moment, the film ends. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to give the video a like.